So you solved your first Rubik's Cube, congratulations. But sadly enough, you quickly realized that solving it in half an hour didn't impress your friends. But don't worry, I got you, bro. Today we're gonna supercharge the beginner method so that you can start solving the cube in under 60 seconds. If you learned how to solve your first Rubik's Cube using one of my videos, which I hope you did, then you start out by creating a white daisy around the yellow center. Now the biggest improvement we can make is getting rid of this step and immediately start solving a white cross around the white center. Now to do this, we start with the white center on top and we're just gonna solve each white edge piece one by one. Now there's a high chance you already have one of the edges in the top layer, but if you do not, just bring one up like this and make sure it's attached to the center. The first cross piece is usually pretty easy. Now other easy edges are when they're in the bottom layer and white touches the yellow center. This way you can just align it to the center and bring it up. However, if there's pieces in the bottom layer where white doesn't touch the yellow center, we cannot just align it to its correct center and bring it up, because this way it will be flipped in place. Instead, what we can do is bring it to its correct center, bring it one move up, not all the way yet, and if it's in this position, we can kind of tell that we can bring it up like this, but that will ruin the orange cross piece. So what we can do is bring the spot where it wants to go over it, inserting it, and then realigning the cross so all of the cross pieces stay in the correct position. And we can use the same technique when there's a cross piece flipped in place. Just bring it one turn down, we bring the spot where it wants to go over it, then inserting the cross piece and realign the cross. We can apply the same technique to all of the cross pieces that are in the middle layer, like this green cross piece. We know that he wants to go right here in between the white and green center. So we can bring the spot where he wants to go over that edge, then insert it, but make sure that you then realign the cross so all of the pieces stay solved. Once you have your white cross, just make sure you flip it over and you can start working on your first and second layer. Now I mentioned in the beginner's method that white is always opposite of yellow. You should also know that orange is always opposite of red and green is always opposite of blue. This can be handy in all of your steps, because if I see that the red cross piece is attached to the orange side, I know it needs to go to the other side of the orange piece, so I can just move the upper layer twice, then inserting the piece and realign it yet, without even looking at the red center. But it can also be handy in other steps. I'm doing my second layer right here and I have this edge piece without yellow in it. Because this red piece is attached to orange right now, I know that it is 2 moves away from being attached to red. So I don't even need to look for the red center, I just know it's on the other side of orange. Now if you're new to cubing, there's a high chance you turn your cube like this. That's not good. That's why I'm gonna give an introduction to cubing finger tricks. For some reason, non-cubers always think the word finger tricks is funny. Why is that? The main idea is that we do wrist turns for the right and left sides, and we use our index fingers for the top layer. Here's how we would do a righty algorithm. We regrip with thumb on bottom, wrist turn, index finger, wrist turn, index finger. This way you can actually get this down way faster. Woo! Now when I started out, my first cube looked something like this, so try to do finger tricks on this. Yeah, not possible. So the easiest way to immediately get faster is actually buying a speed cube. That's why I recommend buying the limited edition $100 GAN 12M Maglev Peacock edition. Nah, I'm just kidding guys, there are a lot of speed cubes that are actually cheaper than a Rubik's brand cube. I will put a list of cubes at different price points in the description and try to keep it up to date. But the cheapest good cube you can buy nowadays is the Moyu RS3V5, which is, I mean, it's good and it's only $9. But for the rest of the video, I will use one of my favorite beginning cubes, which is the Guhong Pro. It is just $17 and has pretty much all of the features a good speed cube can have, including magnets in between the pieces, even magnets in the core, and a dual adjustment system. Now this might be total overkill when you're just starting out, but it's just $17. And it will be even cheaper if you go to thecubicle.com and use discount code CubeHead for a huge discount. It really helps the channel, so thank you so much. Alright, so we can finally throw this one away. Whoop. Okay. Now the next tip is something that you might have figured out on your own. When you're inserting the corner using a righty or lefty algorithm, you don't actually need to do the last move. You only need 3 moves to insert the corner. This is obviously true for the right side as well. So face to the right, 1, 2, 3. But be careful, for your last step or while building the second layer, you still need to do all 4 moves. Now something that you might have noticed as well is that when you're inserting corners and the white faces to the right or to the left, those you can insert pretty fast. But when they face up, It takes a bit longer because you have to do 3 Righty algorithms. While there isn't really a way to insert this corner way faster, there is a way to prevent getting these cases. When there's no corners with white in them in the top layer and you want to take out a corner like this one, if the white faces to the left, you don't want to use a Righty algorithm because if you take it out now, white will face up, which is a bad case. Instead, what we can do, when the white faces to the left, hold it on the left side and do a lefty algorithm. This way you take out the corner while the white faces to the left. And now you can just insert it using a lefty algorithm. Now taking this one step further, if it is flipped in its own place, so we have blue-red in between the blue and red centers, if white faces to the left, we can just immediately do 2 lefty algorithms and that will solve the corner. Now the same idea applies when the corner is flipped in its own spot but white faces to the right. We hold it to the right and do 2 Righty algorithms. When you want to insert a corner piece and you notice that the edge below it is already solved in place, if we insert it in the normal way, this will take out the edge and you have to insert the edge again in the next step. Now there's something we can do to preserve this edge. When the white faces to the right, instead of inserting it like this, move it one spot away that it needs to go, then do a Righty algorithm, and if we insert it now, it will insert the edge as well as the corner. Now the same is true when white faces to the left. Hold it on the left. Instead of doing a lefty algorithm right now, we move the corner one place away from where it needs to go, do a lefty algorithm, and now we can insert this corner, which will insert the corner as well as the edge. Now when white faces up, we can just insert it like normal because doing 3 Righty algorithms will preserve the edge in its spot. Now there's another way we can preserve edges while building our first layer. When learning the Sune case, you might remember that I told you to keep track of a pair. Take it out, put it in the back, and reinserting it. Now sometimes when you're doing your first layer, you will find one of these pairs, but if you insert the corner like normal, it breaks the pair up. Instead we can first move the pair away, open its slot, and then insert it. This way you solve 2 pieces at once. Now the same on the left side, we want to use the red layer again, but first bring the pair away, move the spot it wants to go up, inserting it, and closing it again. This way we solve both the edge and a corner. If you can do this, that's really impressive because this is a technique we use in the CFOP method, which is something we will learn in one of the next videos. If you want to build your yellow cross and we have a hook, normally we would hold it in the back left, but there's another way we can solve it using it in the front right. Just as in the T case, we're gonna move the front layer, but this time take the middle layer with it, like so. Then we do a Righty algorithm, and then we bring both layers back again. This way we immediately have a cross. Now this is really handy for something like a dot case because if we turn this into a hook by doing front, Righty, front, back, you would get a hook in this position. So you can immediately use the new algorithm I just showed you. And you can get really fast at that. Now next I'm gonna give you 2 tips to put all of the yellow edges in their correct position. You know when you have 2 next to each other, you hold them in the back and the right. But did you know you always have to finish with a clockwise U-turn after your Sune to align all of the edges? So back, right, let me do a Sune, then turn the upper layer clockwise and all of the edges are aligned. Now when the 2 correct yellow edge pieces are across from each other, when you hold them in the left and on the right, we know that if we do a Sune, then turn the top layer counterclockwise and do another Sune, all of the yellow edge pieces will always get solved. If we have one of the corners already solved in its correct spot, we hold it in the front left. But there's actually a way to always only have to do 1 Niklas instead of sometimes having to do 2. When looking at the corner next to the solved corner, if one of the colors match the centers, like this red matches to the red center, we just have to do 1 Niklas. Now all of the corners are in its correct position. However, if the corner next to the solved corner doesn't match with any of the centers next to it, we can hold the solved corner on the right and do a Niklas starting with the left sides. So we would put the left pair up and in the back, the right pair up and in the back, solve the left pair, and then solving the right pair. And now all of the corners are in their correct position, doing just 1 Niklas. Now during the last step where we flip the yellow corners, you might have noticed that if the yellow faces to the right, we just need to do 2 Righty algorithms. But then if the yellow faces to the left, we have to do 4 Righty algorithms. Now 4 Righty algorithms is just too much. Instead, what we can do when the yellow faces to the left is do 2 inverse Righty algorithms, which means starting with the top layer doing clockwise, doing the right layer clockwise, top layer counterclockwise, right layer counterclockwise. Just do this twice to solve the corner. If you just practice this a bit, you know that if the yellow faces to the left, you do 2 inverse righty algorithms, and when it faces to the right, you do 2 normal righty algorithms. This way you can solve the last step way faster. Now the last tip I'm gonna give you might be super difficult if you've already done a lot of solves, and that is to be color neutral, meaning that you can start your cross on any color. And this can be really handy because if we look at the white center right here, to start the cross, there's nothing really to work with. But if we look at the green cross, we already have 2 of its cross edges solved, which makes it way easier to finish the cross. Just keep track of your cross color for the rest of the steps, because right now you might think, oh, white faces up, so I do 3 righty algorithms, but actually we need to look at the green, because green is our cross color. Because it faces to the left, we hold it to the left and do a lefty algorithm. This solves that corner. So hopefully using these tips you'll get way faster at the beginner's method. But if you really want to impress your friends and become a top cuber like me who has the national record, yeah, why don't you start learning the CFOP method that almost all of the best cubers in the world use. Don't worry, we'll start slowly, step by step. Check out one of these videos. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Ciao.